We're back for another playoff edition of the Round Ball Mining Company Denver Nuggets Film Room. Of course, we're going to be looking at clips from the first round series between Denver and New Orleans. And this set of clips is going to take a look at Game 1 and see what adjustments the Hornets might want to make in order to make Game 2 more competitive. Now, the first 9 clips we're going to take a look at all pertain to the pick and roll. And the Nuggets did a very good job of defending the pick and roll in Game 1, but they also left a few holes and gaps here and there that the Hornets need to be able to exploit heading into Game 2. Kenyon Martin and Chris Anderson both did a really good job defending the pick and roll, but Nene was by far the most tentative, and I think he was the most worried about getting in foul trouble or getting fouls by Chris Paul running into him. Here you're going to see he lays back, and Chris Paul is able to draw the foul anyway and get a three-point play. The Hornets are going to have to attack Nene a lot more with the pick and roll in Game 2 than they did in Game 1. If I was Byron Scott, I would exclusively run the high pick and roll with Tyson Chandler setting the screen, and there's 3 reasons for that. First of all, it gets Nene involved once again, having to guard Chris Paul, and Chandler's great diving down the lane, and you see him get plenty of alley-oops. But with Nene having to guard Chris Paul, that means Kenyon has to come off of Chandler, leaving West wide open, and he didn't make any of these open jumpers, but he's going to in the next few games. And it's much more effective than running the pick and pop with West just trying to get him a jumper, because it adds the dimension of Chandler diving to the rim for those alley-oops. Next, we'll look at a couple techniques that Chris Paul personally can use to defeat the Nuggets pick and roll defense. Here he's going to split the double, and that's something I thought was available to him a lot in Game 1, and he didn't really take advantage of it. And because the Nuggets were playing that more of a contain than a trapping defense for most of the game, that was open, and he rarely did it. Here he's actually going to dribble away from the screen, and that's another way to get away from the Nuggets contain, where they have 3 guys lined up ready for him at the free throw line. And I think those are 2 things that you can look for him to do more of in the Game 2. Here's a play that I thought would work very well for the Hornets heading into Game 1, and they only ran it once or twice, and that's the high screen and roll where this pick's actually set just inside the half court, and it's going to get an open look for David West, and I think that was the one jumper that he actually knocked down during the game. But that high pick and roll near half court is available to the Hornets. I was very surprised at Chris Paul in Game 1 of how passive he was when he was set up with a switch where the Nuggets switched on defense. In this clip, you're going to see he's going to get Melo switched onto him. And Melo's laying off. He's clearly hoping that Paul will shoot the jumper. But usually when you do what the defense wants you to do, you're doing what the defense wants you to do, and that's not going to be good for your offense. Chris Paul there settles for the three-pointer instead of attacking Melo. Here you're going to see Kenyon Martin get switched on to Paul. And Paul does attack him off the dribble, but decides to pull back and shoots a tough jumper with Kenyon somewhat challenging the shot. And I just really think Chris Paul's going to have to be more aggressive. He gets a lot of calls driving into the body of defenders, and he's going to have to go at Carmelo, at Kenyon Martin, at Nene, whoever is switched onto him. Chris Paul's going to have to be more aggressive when the Nuggets switch screens in Game 2 than he was in Game 1. There was a couple of matchups that the Nuggets completely dominated in Game 1. One was the bench disparity, and the other was Kenyon Martin guarding David West. And West, you're going to see here, they're going to try and post him up. And this is at a crucial juncture in the game. The Nuggets are just starting their 21-0 run, and Kenyon just has given West nothing. Kenyon's really built perfectly to guard someone like West in the post, and I think the Hornets really tried forcing the ball to him a little bit too frequently. And you see here that turnover led to a Chauncey three-pointer. And once again here, I think it's the next possession, they actually try to go to West again in the post, and it has a similar result. And I'm not going to go as far to say they should never go to West in the post. He's a decent post-up player, but when Kenyon's on him, West is going to have a really hard time getting anything going in the post, and I think the Hornets actually need to play more pick-and-roll basketball, which is kind of tough because they do it a lot, but less West in the post and more pick-and-roll basketball will be better for the Hornets. One area of this matchup where I think the Hornets have a really big advantage that they did virtually nothing in Game 1 to try and exploit was in transition. You're going to see a quick pick and roll. We saw this play earlier where Paul drives in the Nene and gets the and one layup. And I think really, I know the Hornets like to play at a slower pace, but really in transition they have such an advantage on Denver. Denver did a good job on the half-court defense, and it helps the Hornets take advantage of Denver before they get set up. Here you're going to see, because Paul goes quickly, there's 5 Nuggets in the lane, and that opens up the three-pointer for the Hornets. And I really think that Paul needs to be aggressive, even on one-man fast break situations, to force the Nuggets to try and stop the Hornets and Chris Paul in transition defense. Now, not only do I think the Hornets should play quicker in transition, but I also think they should play quicker in the half court. And here you're going to see they're going to run a pick and roll. Paul passes off, and then he's going to get the ball back, And the Nuggets do a good job of stopping the initial pick and roll, but now as soon as he gets the ball back, they run another one. And the Nuggets are a little frazzled. They're not ready to help right away. Paul gets a good look and is fouled by Dante Jones. But when the Nuggets stop the first pick and roll, go immediately right into a second one and force them to play tough defense instead of just watching Paul dribble and let the Hornets stand around. The other thing I think Byron Scott needs to do is scrap the small lineup. And you're going to see here James Posey gets stuck trying to guard Nene in the post, and that is an easy layup there for Nene. I know the Hornets like to try and take advantage of Posey at power forward to get him open on the perimeter, but Chris Anderson in all their matchups this season has done a pretty good job of negating Posey's perimeter threat. You'll probably notice that almost all of these recommendations were on offense, and the reason for that is I agree with Byron Scott that the Hornets really didn't play that bad at defense in Game 1. He was kind of mocked in the media for saying that, but really they played good defense on Carmelo. He had a poor shooting night, and that was because of the Hornets scheme against him. Chauncey did hit those 8 3-pointers, but that obviously is a fluke. He's not going to do that again, maybe once or twice the rest of the postseason if the Nuggets run it long enough. But I really think the Hornets' defense was sound, and they held the Nuggets to only 34 or 36 points in the paint, which is a pretty low total, especially for a team that scored 113 points, especially for the Nuggets when they scored 113 points in a game. So I think really the adjustments the Hornets need to make are on offense, and the Nuggets played very good defense, and that's the area where they need to counter and where they have the best opportunity. And really a lot of that is just hitting shots. They missed a lot of open shots, and that's obviously going to have to change if they're going to have success in Game 2 or in any other game in this series. So there you have it. Thanks for joining us in our Roundball Mining Company Denver Nuggets film room. We hope you enjoy Game 2, and we also hope that you enjoy our Nuggets blog. Check it out at roundballminingcompany.com. We're a member of the ESPN True Hoop blogging network.